My son is 4, and my husband and I are very happy with him. He was born 3 months premature. He was born at 28 weeks. Yeah. When he was born, even my neighbor didn't know I was pregnant because it was before I was really showing. So I remember when I brought him home, my neighbor came over, who I'm very close with, and said, "Oh, cute kid. Whose kid is it?" And I said, "This is mine." He's like, "What the hell do you mean yours? Did you go and adopt a baby?" But a lot of people didn't know. I mean, he was only 2 pounds, so I mean, that's tiny. A lot of people don't show at that age. Yeah. So when he was born, it was really tough for us. I remember that day, I was in the city shopping with my girlfriends, my cousin, and I was having cramps, but the doctor had told me to expect some Braxton Hicks, which is like practice contractions. And so I thought that's what it was. She had told me to expect it. Here I am having something that feels like contractions. So I thought, okay, this is right along what she told me to expect. And so all day I just kept pushing it off, saying, oh, this is wow, these are really intense for practice contractions. I can't imagine what the real thing feels like. Yeah. And so that night I came home, and my husband looked at my face and said, "You don't look so good. You look really distressed." And I said, I'm fine. It's just that these practice things are really kicking my butt. And so we went out to dinner, and he was like, "It would just make me feel better if you called a doctor. Just make sure that this is what it's supposed to feel like." And so I did it for him. And she said the same thing. She said, you might have just been on your feet too long, and you might be a little bit dehydrated. It might just be some extra cramping because of that. Why don't you go home, take a nice long bath, drink lots of water, and just get off your feet. And I said, okay. And then I think it was my breathing. I had some sort of labored breathing, because just before I got off the phone, she said, hold on a second. There's something in your voice that I don't like. So why don't you come in and just get checked out for me? Just come into the hospital. Let us put the monitor on you. Just make sure everything's fine. And so I said, okay. So we went from dinner straight to the hospital, and they put the monitor on me, and they said I was dehydrated. And so they put some solution, IV. And then they also told me that I had a UTI, urinary tract infection. And they said, it's common, don't worry. So, they put all the antibiotics, the saline solution, and we were waiting. And the nurse kept coming in every 30 minutes. Are you feeling better? Has the cramping subsided? And I said, no, I think they're getting worse. So she just kept increasing the antibiotics in the solution. And she just kept coming in. Are you feeling better now? No, I think I'm feeling worse. And 2 hours passed by. The doctor called back and said, well, have you checked her for dilation, because she's not feeling better? And then at that point, the nurse came in and said, well, your doctor wants me to check for any dilation. She's like, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's nothing, but we just have to do it. She checked me, and then she said, you're 2 centimeters dilated. I'm like, okay.
What does that mean?
Okay. And then she said, don't worry, it's only 2 centimeters. We can stop it. I think she said that she would put some steroids and magnesium, and then, would stop it. And I said, okay, do whatever you need to do, just stop it, because I still have 3 months to go. And the doctor came in 10 minutes later, after she had heard that I was starting to dilate. And at that point, the doctor came in, and it wasn't my doctor, because it was the doctor that was on call that night. And so I was already nervous, and then to see another face. I mean, I didn't know who she was, but she came in, she was sweet, and she said, I'm sure it's fine. Like, the nurse told you we're going to stop the dilation. And she checked me at that point, and I was fully dilated. So I went from 2 centimeters to full dilation in the 10 minutes from the time that the nurse checked me to the time that I took her to get into the hospital. So, I mean, that's when just everything started to go into express mode. I'll never forget, she looked at me. I mean, she kicked everybody out. She kicked my husband out. She kicked everybody out of the room, and she said,
going to labor now.
She's like, I know it's not your time, and I know it's your first baby, so I know this is going to be really scary for you, but you're going to have the baby now. She's like, and we have to bring in a lot of people into this room. She's like, there's going to be about 15 to 20 people in this room. don't be nervous, you know. She's like, I know you don't know me either. But, you know, and she said, I'm going to try my best to do everything I can. And, you know, it was my first time having a baby. So I didn't know what to do. And I kept telling them, I don't know what to do. Like, do you want me to push? I don't know what to do, you know? So the nurses...
You guys haven't even gone through the whole...
We haven't done any... No,
things.
nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing. Because we were at 6 months.
Right.
We did nothing. I didn't know anything. I didn't even... I mean... That's why I had the contractions all day, right? I didn't even realize what contractions felt like. And so, I mean, the nurses were trying to coach me through it. When you feel this, like, start pushing and...
Breathing technique.
Yeah, so they were trying to coach me as I was doing it. And just before I started, I won't forget this, just before I started, I looked at my doctor and I said, okay, can I just have, like, painkillers? And she's like, no, you can't have any kind of injections right now because we have to go right into labor. And I said, well, can I have an aspirin or an Advil or something? Because I hear it's quite painful. And, you know, and she looked at me and she said, I'm so sorry. But she's like, you, at this point, no matter what I give you, it won't do anything for you anyway. And I said, okay, all right. Then I guess we'll just have to do whatever it is that I have to do. And yeah, that was really crazy, very crazy. And then I was having constant contractions. And then we were ready to go. And it was like a minute of no contractions. And it felt like the longest minute of my life. I mean, it might have been 30 seconds. But I had 15 faces staring at me. Not even my doctor. I don't even know the woman that's delivering the baby. And I don't know if and it was just the longest silence awkward silence I have ever experienced. And so, you know, the doctor was sitting there, just let us know when another contraction comes. And I said, God, please hurry up. And, you know, he came out rather quickly. She had to do an episiotomy. She told me, she's like, I'm going to have to cut you a little bit because I want to get my hands in to cradle his head. That was very unpleasant. But he came out and he was 2 pounds, 3 ounces. She brought him over to me, to my bedside really quick. He came out and he started crying. So that was amazing. I remember everybody clapping and cheering. It was just a happy moment. She brought him over to me, and I remember looking at him and doing like, oh my gosh, you know? And I felt so bad, right? Because he's my baby, but he didn't look like a baby. He was bluish, like a blue-gray, and, you know, he looked disformed, like he looked disfigured in a way, right? He didn't look very human. And so I remember feeling a little bit mortified when the baby came over. And, you know, when you see the pictures, it's like the happy moment, right? The mom takes a picture with the baby. And, I mean, we didn't really have time for that. They just said, you know, I remember her saying, like, Mommy, open your eyes. Yeah, no, she just said, Mommy, open your eyes, take a look. And I opened my eyes and I said, oh my gosh. And then they took him, and he was born at Holy Name Hospital in New Jersey. But because they were not outfitted to care for such a preemie, they had to transfer him. It was March 22nd, 2011. He was born 32211. He had to be transferred to Columbia across the bridge. And so it was snowing that day. They came in, and, you know, I'm still recovering. I don't even know what had happened to me. They came in and they told me, listen, we need you to sign this waiver. We're going to put him in an ambulance, take him across the bridge. It's snowing. It's not the best weather. This disclaimer basically says if he gets into an accident, if we get into an accident, we're not liable. Yeah. And I looked at him and I said, are you kidding me? Like, I just gave birth to this infant, right? And you're telling me to just sign off on, well, if you get into an accident, sorry. And so I made my husband go. And I said, I don't need you. So you get on the ambulance with him. That's my insurance policy. You get on there. You make sure. I don't care if something happens to you. You make sure he's okay. So I sent my husband over. they came in. He was in the incubator. They rolled him into my room so that I can see him cleaned off. I can have a second look. He had his diaper on, and he had just tubes everywhere, and he had like a CPAP on his nose. And then after that, for 2.5 months, it was just commuting from our house to the hospital every day to take care of him.
Right.
So it was scary. I mean, that, like she said, the first 24 hours was very scary. We constantly kept in touch with the doctors there to make sure everything was going the way it was planned. We didn't know. I mean, they told us it was 50-50. And they said after the 24 hours, his percentages go up, and then every day they'll continue to go up. I mean, we couldn't even touch him for a long time, and we couldn't hold him for much longer than that. We had our baby shower, of course, after he was born. Everything came after he was born. It was tough, and that's why that definitely plays into our decision now, whether we want to have another, and the tough part was they never had an explanation for me. What had happened, why it happened, what went wrong, can it happen again? The assumption is that it can, and it most likely will happen again. I mean, he got lucky, but who knows if it happens again, if we'll get lucky twice, right? And so that's definitely something we definitely consider in making a decision of whether to have another. But there were some blessings that came out of it because, well, number one, I remember my mom is such a frank and blunt woman. She came up to me during that time and she said, listen, look at it this way. Not many women get to sit at home and rest after they give a baby while you have professionals caring for your baby. She was like, I don't know what you're so moody for. You're the luckiest woman I've ever seen. She's like, you get 3 months off after you had your baby, and you get to just relax and do whatever you want to do and rest and get everything ready for the baby. And she's like, and on top of that, the baby's gonna come home trained.
Yeah.
And that was true, because when we brought Remus home, he was on such a strict feeding schedule, such a strict sleeping schedule, and he had already been used to sleeping alone. That we didn't have to do sleep training. He has slept alone since the moment he's come home in his crib. So it wasn't easy, but like my mom said, right? There was a lot of, I guess, luxuries that came with it. And and that's how Remus was born.